Scrooge bent under the table and came up with a calculator and a crystal ball. Okay, let's get down to business. We do two things here: finances and phantoms. What's it going to be? Granny reached into her handbag and removed the business card Sabrina had found in her mother's wallet. Scrooge took it, flipped it over, and then smiled. "Ah, Veronica," he said wistfully. "Where did you get this?" "She's my mom," Daphne said. The man grinned. "Your mother is a saint. She helped me get the lease on the store when I decided to go into business for myself. She's lovely, just lovely. What can I do for you?" "We're investigating King Oberon's death, and we were hoping you might—" "Of course," Scrooge said, cutting off Granny Rhoda. "Everybody grab hands and close your eyes." "Mr. Scrooge, I'm a bit confused. We aren't here to talk to spirits," the old woman said. "Oh. We were hoping you might be able to give us some information. Anything you might know about who would have wanted to kill the king." Scrooge laughed. "Well, you don't need a psychic for that. Everyone wanted to kill the king. I wanted to kill the king. He was a jerk. Kazoid," Daphne finished. "He was arrogant, stupid, meddling," Scrooge cried. "He'd send his goons down here to collect his tax. Extortion money, if you ask me. Most of us thought he was a raw pain in the—" "You weren't at the meeting yesterday," Mr. Kenneth interrupted. "No, I gave up on all that nonsense when the real fairy fell," Scrooge said. "Yes, we keep hearing about fairy," Sabrina said. "Fairy is a great idea, a neighborhood of ever-afters. It used to be downtown, but people started moving in, and ever-afters kept getting moved out. Pretty soon, we were out in Jersey City, New Jersey. Well, I wasn't going to tolerate that, and ever-after has got to have standards. Before I knew it, we were pushed off Jersey too. Eventually, someone suggested a park. No one lives there but the squirrels. They had a witch stab the golden egg. Our parents said we'd buy land and start new, but it never happened. We couldn't get along long enough to make anything work. But if you want to know about stuff like this, you should take it right from the horse's mouth, or Baron himself." "Old man, do not just tell you the king is dead," Mr. Kenneth snapped. "You read the sign on the door, right? You people aren't getting it, are you? Here, take my hand," Scrooge said, snatching Sabrina's in his own. "Now, close your eyes. We'll have to concentrate to get Baron's attention." "Is this going to give me nightmares?" Daphne cried, taking Scrooge's other hand. "Depends. Was his head chopped off or anything like that?" "They often come back looking the way they did when they died." "He was poisoned," Granny Rhoda said, sounding a little uneasy. "Should be okay. He might be a little green. Still, I have to warn you, even if we see a Baron, it'll be difficult to understand. I think it has something to do with the energy they use to become full torso apparitions. They trade the body for the language, but we'll do our best. Sometimes I can make out what they want to say by having them play charades. Now let's concentrate. Oh, Baron, are you there?" Sabrina rolled her eyes. "You're just going to call out his name? It's that easy?" "Fine, if you want the whole shebang, there's no extra charge," Scrooge said as he flipped a switch on his wall. Rays of light shot out of the crystal ball, speckling the tapestries with shimmering suns, moons, and stars. The sound of a powerful wind came from speakers mounted on the ceiling. Scrooge reached under the table and pulled out a huge Swami hat. It was bright purple and had a shiny red ruby in its center. He plopped it on his head. "This authentic enough for you?" Sabrina scowled. "Oh, Baron, King of the Fairies, we call on you. Come forth and reveal yourself," Scrooge continued. Unfortunately, his request went unanswered, and the family sat waiting for several minutes. I'm sorry, dead people can be a bit shy, the, the psychic said nervously. His former confidence seemed to fade. Oh, Baron, come out, wherever you are. That's right, Your Majesty. We're having a party and you're invited. This is ridiculous, Sabrina said, leaping to her feet. She's fully prepared to march out of the room when an odd chill crept up her spine. She felt as if she had a horrible head cold. In fact, her whole body felt weird, almost as if it were filled with stuffing, like she had become a giant teddy bear. Granny, what's going on? Sabrina cried as she watched the hair on her arms stand on end. I think he's here, Scrooge said, sounding relieved. Oh, Baron, is that you? Sabrina's mouth opened on its own, and a ghostly voice echoed of it. Where am I? Hey, did that come out of me? Sabrina cried, looking at her sister, who stared at her with eyes as wide as moons. Even Muff looked a bit freaked out. Wowzers, Scrooge said to Sabrina. You're a natural medium. Girls feel comfortable talking through you. Your mother had the same ability. But Sabrina couldn't respond. The ghost had full possession of her now. Where am I? The voice said. This time Sabrina's arms flared around as if she was angry. Scrooge bit his lip. Oh, Baron, I have some bad news for you. Are you sitting down? I don't know, Baron's voice said. Hey, where's my body? Yeah, that's the bad news. You're dead. There was a long silence, but Sabrina could still feel the king's presence inside of her. Suddenly, her mouth opened again, and a single frustrated word came out. Fudge. I know, it's a real bummer. Right now, you're stuck in limbo, and you're going to stay there until your killer is brought to justice. Luckily, we've got some people here who want to help you out with that inconvenience. King or Baron, it is I, your loyal subject Moth. I have been caring for Puck since you have departed. The little fairy bragged as she hefted Puck's cocoon onto the table. He is here with me. I know, I can smell him from the astral plane, Oberon groaned, then forced Sabrina's body to walk over to Puck's cocoon. Sabrina felt her hand move over it, caressing the cocoon lightly. She could feel a wave of regret pour over her, an odd sensation in considering how Oberon reacted when he discovered Puck in his office. Hadn't he called his son a traitor? Sabrina also felt Oberon's hold on her body weaken. She took the opportunity to wrench back control. Get out of me, she demanded. Sabrina, don't fight him. We need to ask him some important questions, Granny said. Easy for you to say. There's only one person in your body, Sabrina cried. Oh, Baron, do you have any idea who killed you? Granny Rhoda said. Cobweb, the voice bellowed as Oberon took control again. He poisoned me. He brought me a glass of wine to celebrate the arrival of Veronica's girls. A moment after he left, I felt faint and collapsed. Then there was a terrible pain and blackness. I knew it, Muff cried. The family looked at her in disbelief. Well, I did. Do you know why he wanted to kill you? Granny asked Oberon. No, the king said. He's the last person I would have suspected. Oh, I'm so angry. I had Rangers tickets this season. What a waste. Are you sure a Cobweb acted alone? Mr. Kenneth said. Perhaps he was working with another person who wanted you dead. Like who? Everyone loves me. We saw you fighting with your wife, Granny replied. Titania, impossible. She wouldn't kill me. Sure, we're fine, but you'd try being married for 5,000 years and see if you don't bicker. Did you know that Cobweb was a member of the Scarlet Hand? Granny asked. Scarlet what? Oberon asked. I've never heard of any Scarlet Hand. Listen, you've got to find Cobweb and bring him to justice. Suddenly, the chill in Sabrina's body disappeared, and a new voice came from her mouth. Please insert 50 cents for 10 more minutes. Sorry, we've lost the connection, Scrooge said. Well, get him back, Muff cried. We need to know if Oberon suspects anyone else. I'm sorry, he's gone. I hope it was helpful, Scrooge said. Granny stood up. It was more than helpful. We now know who killed Oberon, and all we have to do is track that on this cobweb. If only detective work were always this easy. Forget detective work, Scrooge said. Sabrina could make a bundle as a psychic. Sabrina cringed. The group thanked Scrooge for his help and then exited the room. When they found Tim struggling with his desk again, they helped him sit upright and then paid Scrooge's fee. Satisfied customers, eh? Well, that's good news, Tim said as he counted the bills. The governor tends to get a lot of bad connections these days. I was a big fan of your mother, by the way. She was good people. Daphne rested her elbows on his desk and smiled brightly. Would you say it for me? She asked. Say what? You know, the line. The little girl begged. Tim frowned, rolled his eyes, and took a deep breath. God bless us, everyone, he grumbled. Daphne clapped her hands and giggled like she just stumbled into a surprise party. I should start charging for that, Tim muttered. So we know who killed Oberon. What do we do now? Sabrina said when the group stepped back out into the street. Mustn't see set. He'll report everything to Oz, Granny said as she raised her hand to hail a cab. One quickly pulled over. Where to, folks? The cabbie said. Macy's department store, Granny said as she helped the girls into the taxi. I'm feeling tired, Mr. Kenneth said from the sidewalk. I believe I could use some time alone. Do you think you can manage without me? Granny nodded. Do you need a ride? Mr. Kenneth shook his head. Rhoda waved goodbye, and the taxi pulled away from the curb and headed north toward Macy's. Daphne clapped her hands. We're off to see the wizard! Sabrina rolled her eyes. You've been waiting all day to say that, haven't you? Daphne grinned from ear to ear. When they arrived at Macy's, they found a huge crowd of people pushing their way into the store at the same time that an equally huge crowd was trying to get out. Sabrina was not surprised. After all, Christmas Eve was just 3 days away, and what would the holidays be without thousands of panicked shoppers scrambling for last-minute gifts? Granny urged them all to hold hands as they politely moved through the mall. Mommy, a small child cried as pointing at Puck's cocoon. I want that for Christmas. Sabrina snickered to herself, imagining the stinky sack underneath a Christmas tree. She would love to see Puck's face when he crawled out of it, only to find a weird little boy staring at him. So, did Oz say what he does at the store? Daphne yelled above the crowd. No, but I'm sure if we ask, someone will help us find him, Granny Rhoda said. He's a bit of a character. Everyone must know him. I found him, Moth said, pointing at one of the many huge picture windows that ran along the sides of the block-long building at Herald Square. There was Oz behind the glass, working on a window display featuring several elves who were supposed to be assembling toys in a red and green factory. The elves were robots run by electricity, yet they moved like human beings, laughing, waving, and pounding away on their toys. One, however, had obviously gone haywire. It was pounding on its robot brethren. Oz stood nearby, aiming his silver remote at the malfunctioning elf. A throng of people pressed against the window, watching the wizard work on the remarkable creations, and giggling. That seems to be the end of this video. And maybe the last one for tonight. Goodbye.